So we've all been there. You get excited to start a new habit. You're just full of motivation and optimism. You get underway and string together a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, heck, maybe even a couple of months. And then all of a sudden, the universe conspires against you, knocks you off your routines, you break your habit, and all of a sudden you're finding yourself, just struggling to get back into it. I've certainly found myself in that position multiple times, and I've just found that the best way to get back into a habit is to make the conditions possible that actually make it easy to do. And I've found that creating what I've come to think of as identity statements is the best way to actually get that done. And so when it comes to restarting a habit, I've found that it comes in like two flavors. Either I'm sort of willing and forcing myself to do a habit, or I've actually found that, sometimes a habit can be really easy to do. Like I find myself drawn to do the behaviors of a habit. I'm sort of pulled into it, almost compelled to do it. And the difference in experience between those two is just night and day. And the underlying mechanism that separates one from the other all has to do with sort of the why behind the habit itself. And when I was reading through James Clear's Atomic Habits, I feel like he really just put his finger right on it when he said that habits that reinforce a desired identity just fundamentally are more likely to stick than ones that don't reinforce a desired identity. And when I saw that, the light bulb went off in my head and I was like, I feel like that's what makes the difference between like a push habit and a pull habit in my world. So take, for instance, running. When I've been a runner off and on for years, and if I was just training for a particular race, the day that race was over, I just couldn't find the motivation to actually get back into a running routine or to pick up a training or to get back into like a running regimen. It just didn't have, like the goal was already over. But I would still come back to running every now and again over the years, and after reading that book, I realized that actually what I'm really interested in more than any given race is actually being a consistent runner, like seeing myself that way, maybe even introducing myself to people that way, just actually becoming a regular runner. And when that became clear to me, I actually felt like, now the idea of running frequently, multiple times per week, maybe even in the mornings before work, became a lot easier to do because I wasn't doing it for like some temporary goal. I was doing it because it was, as James Clear would say, it was a vote for, actually fulfilling and living in the skin of this desired identity that I had. And I've just found that was a really big difference in mindset shift. Waking up early wasn't quite as hard anymore. It was still hard, but like it wasn't nearly as hard as if I was just kind of forcing myself to do it. So after kind of connecting the dots on this, I thought it would be a good idea to actually spend the time to identify the 7 or so identities that I'm actually pursuing and to write down the reasons that I'm doing them. And so that was what became for me the identity statement. And I'll go ahead and just share with you an example of one that maybe you can use the same format if it's helpful for you. An identity statement for me basically has 3 parts. Why am I choosing to pursue this identity or to become this identity? What will come from being this identity? So what does it lead to? And then what are the behaviors, what are the habits that actually are evidence of being this identity? So one of my identities is to actually be a plant predominant person. And what that means is that the vast majority of my meals are whole food, plant-based. And so the reasons why I want to be, I'm actually going to pull up my document here. I choose to be a plant predominant eater because I like the way I feel when I run on this fuel. I've done a bunch of experimentation and I can notice a real difference when I run with this kind of diet. I've also learned how to cook a number of meals in this way. And when I'm in the kitchen cooking this way, I feel confident. I just feel like I know what I'm doing in there, which is awesome. It's very friendly on the checking account because produce in general is pretty cheap compared to meat. And you can buy, oftentimes you can buy dried beans in bulk. Things are on sale often. It's easy on the pocketbook. I've done a bunch of research into this, and I'm convinced that this is probably one of the best things I can do for my health. And I just know that I'm nurturing my body and soul when I'm eating this way. In terms of what it would lead to, basically, I feel like if I'm eating this way, I'm going to be living a high quality of life for as long as possible. Longevity is important, but making those days high quality is also as important. I think it will lead to me being the best runner I can be, and it'll also lead to me being the healthiest and sharpest version of myself for my family. It will also lead to being a damn good home cook, which I feel proud about, and looking as good as I feel. And I always feel really good when I eat this way. And so I capture all of that just in my note app, and each one of my desired identities has a statement like this, and I review all of them every month. And so when the universe does conspire to knock me off my habit routines, I'll still read these. And what has actually come from that is, for the time that I'm away from the habit, I actually find myself eager to restart and get back into it. Just as an example, I was on a 10-day trip out of state just recently. The very next day I moved from Chattanooga to Birmingham, and my whole life turned upside down. Clearly not able to cook. I don't even know where my spatulas are, my forks and knives. And I'm starting a new job on Wednesday, so I have to get going to get my office to a place where I can get started. This is no time for me to be spending multiple hours per week running. I mean, I could, but those hours are probably better spent unpacking and getting my kitchen set up so it can support, these identities that I will be pursuing later. And so by having these identity statements here, though I still read them, I'm eager to get back into, a new version of my old routines. And that just makes restarting the habit so much easier. It's something I'm looking forward to doing. And so that's pretty much it for this video. Consider making an identity statement for yourself if you are struggling to restart a habit. And thanks for visiting the channel. I'll see you in the next one.